Good morning, everyone. This is Danielle Spencer. I wanted to give my take on some recent events in the news that have really been happening the last 2 weeks, um, concerning laws both at the federal level and state level concerning that deal with fraud, and specifically what I would term as white collar crime, document fraud, where you submit documentation saying one thing, but the truth may be something completely different. And this past week, you have seen one particular party uh, like protesting, having all these public statements to say about one individual who is alleged to have falsified business records to cover up a payment. However, another court case actually showed where there was, say, like 10 years worth of evidence showing that this individual has a habit of falsifying business records or falsifying records. Um, One very glaring example is saying that the square footage of one particular residence is one thing and almost three times the square footage that it actually is. However, you have another, a former prosecutor for the state of Maryland, her name, I think it's Marilyn Mosby, where she's now forced facing up to 40 years in jail because she was saying that she committed mortgage fraud. She was convicted of doing that, and instead of borrowing or using other people's money, she was actually getting money from her own retirement fund. And while you have seen a lot of people from a lot of activist groups talking about her particular case, that same political party who is screaming and protesting about fraud laws being applied to one individual who happens to be a white male, but there's not the same outrage about these fraud laws being used against another individual who happens to be an African American or a black female. And I was speaking with someone this week and we were talking about it, how the laws are structured and set up. And one of the things I've told and I said, and I stand by, and I believe the events for the past week or last 2 weeks uh, kind of support my assumption of what I believe in this matter is you have never heard, at least I have never heard, of any of these individuals decrying the law, saying that the law needs to change. Like, well, wait a minute, the way that we're interpreting or way that we're implementing fraud laws need to change. No, they want the fraud laws to stay there. However, the fraud laws should only apply to certain individuals. And we will decide what individuals we want to apply these fraud laws to. In other words, there are a group of individuals who, what it appears to be, especially in my eyes, they should be able to commit fraud and not have any consequences to be able to do that. However, if any of us, middle class Americans, people of color, or women, if we commit fraud, no, we want the laws on the books because we want to have the ability to be able to send you to jail for these long, extended times. And you have nothing to say about because there's actually a law on the books that says that we could do this. And that is, the experiences that I document in my book. Those are the things that I saw and kind of believe, especially after or I started filing civil lawsuits to try to get some remedy uh, to kind of stop the whistleblower retaliation from happening to me. And so, my opinion, when people look at what's going on, think about it in that lens. Do you see these individuals decrying the law or saying that some type of reform needs to be made so that the law seems more just or more equitable? Or do you just hear people crying and complaining about the law and saying it just shouldn't apply, or that there's no crime here, even though you have documented proof showing that something happened. So think about that. Are they saying that the law needs to be reformed and their changes need to happen? Or are they just saying, no, no, let's keep the law, but we just shouldn't apply it to certain individuals? When you have that, you have what I believe and what I would really advocate to say, selective prosecution, that certain individuals are above the law and others are not. And based on my whistleblower experience, if most of us don't kind of wake up to that reality, you're going to look up, and in a few years, we are all going to be in a society where the laws are going to be on the books and they're only going to apply to certain people. And then if you don't break the law, we'll fabricate evidence because we're upset, either because you're an activist, you're, as I've seen or heard on the internet, a mouthy female, or you're a person who's not conforming to what how it is believed that either women should act, people of color should act, or people in the middle class. Regardless of what race or gender you are, you're just a middle class individual, and we believe that you should be conducting yourself in a certain manner, which, in my experience, very appeasing to people in color, a people pleaser, being very subservient. So I just wanted to give my thoughts on kind of what has been going on, what has been happening, and hopefully to get other people to try to think about things in a different lens. And as you go forward, and as we get closer to the election cycle, to really think about candidates that you're thinking about putting in office or wanting to vote for, how are they responding to events that are happening in the news? Are they for the rule of justice or the rule of law for everyone, that it should be equitably administered? Or are they saying, no, the law shouldn't apply to certain people, but we want it to apply to you, or people that look like you, or who are in your same socioeconomic class? Again, thanks for joining. Thank you for watching. Danielle Spencer, more to come in the future.